Good evening, everyone. My name is Bethany Montgomery, aka Lyte, and you are here at Courageous Conversations. And we have a wonderful evening planned for you all tonight. So, what Courageous Conversations is a 5-part talk show series for Black and African American communities to receive culturally appropriate and accessible information about COVID and the COVID-19 vaccines. And so what we're going to be doing is bringing you trusted members, leaders, and allies of the Black and African American community, and they'll be sharing their perspectives, knowledge, and empowering those in our community to make the decision they feel is best for themselves and their loved ones. And so again, this is called Courageous Conversations, COVID-19 vaccine, you decide. And so this is number 2. Last Tuesday, we had an amazing show and we brought on some Black doctors and some doctors that work with the Black community, and they were able to give us their perspective and the knowledge they know about COVID-19 and the vaccines. And so it was an amazing show. This show is going to be great as well. And so again, my name is Lyte. I am the founder of Power to the Poetry, which is a performing arts LLC specializing in spoken word poetry. We promote freedom of expression and provide a platform for underrepresented demographics in our community, including but not limited to people of color, LGBTQ+, women, youth, people with different abilities, etc., raising awareness to social, cultural, political, and personal issues, addressing topics which cultivate crucial and courageous conversations, empowering our audience to engage in dialogue, action for meaningful change. We are warriors of light on a mission to express, expose, and ignite. And so Power to Poetry, it's a movement providing a platform for all voices, fostering a climate of culture, diversity, and inclusion. Marginalized groups constantly deal with inequalities such as oppression, discrimination, racism, and prejudice. This is unacceptable, and we take responsibility for the disparities in our community by creating opportunities for positive and necessary change and inspiring others to do the same. And so this is conversation number 2, and it is called Caring for Ourselves and Our Communities. How can we prepare for the next crisis? And so tonight we will be having 2 amazing speakers, Tamar Jackson, who is the Director of Community Engagement for Workforce Central. He builds and grows community-based coalitions and partnerships to accomplish Workforce Central's 2 bold goals by 2025. And so that is to cut in half the number of disconnected young adults in Pierce County, and to cut in half the number of people in Pierce County who don't have high school diplomas or equivalent. For more about Tamar Jackson, you can check his LinkedIn, which we will drop in the chat. And then we also have Josh Jordan, who's an administrative consultant, aspiring decent human, life student, and detail addict who helps businesses by mapping and optimizing the administrative processes to increase time focusing on core service deliveries, and really just really involved in the community and volunteers a lot of his time. And then we have a special musical guest, Brian. He is 24 years young, and he uses his consciousness and new age lyricism in modern day essence to fuel the positive and vulnerable yet relatable, and creates relatable music. Brian is a storyteller, and the way he paints pictures with his imagery and conscious content and soulful melodies is truly amazing. It's a blend of trap soul, alternative, and hip hop. And so we have a lovely evening for you all tonight and are super excited. So without further ado, we're gonna have Brian take it away and start us off with some amazing music.
Appreciate you guys for having me. Thank you, Lyte, and everybody in attendance, everybody watching at home. Thank you so much. And I'll start it off here in just a moment. This first one is called Keep It Positive. just something. It's going to start off with a mantra that you could even say to yourself in the mornings. Just, when you wake up, you look yourself in the mirror and just, hey, say these things to yourself. So we're going to get that one rolling here in just a second here. But again, thank you guys for having me. Shout out my boy, Blake Burton. He's in the background. He's the engineer for today for this session we're doing. So thank you guys again. And yep. And here it comes. Let's do this. I am light. I am love.
I am beautiful.
Say this to yourself in the morning. Remember,
you're
a king, you're a queen.
Celestial being. I am not any of my past, and the future is still consistently being made by my choices in the present moment. And I accept that. I accept love into my life, healing into my life. I am abundance, and what I put out will come back to me. All right, look, say it with me.
Say it with me, I'm the chosen one. If I wanted, I could close the sun. I stand tall when them soldiers come. They see my light, then them soldiers run. Told my mama God chose your son. Gotta heal the planet, just begun. Gotta feel the planet just because. Feel the earth with a thing called love. Say it with me, I'm the chosen one. If I wanted, I could close the sun. I stand tall when them soldiers come. They see my light, then them soldiers run. Told my mama God chose your son. Gotta heal the planet just begun. Gotta fuel the planet just because. Fuel the earth with a thing called love. The world's frequency. There's a plan here for you and me. To say the least, I can see the cease, and they're telling me there'll be better weeks. I can see the future's coming quick. Don't blink or you might miss. Look inside your heart and watch it fall apart when you keep telling yourself you ain't I keep it positive. All my demons talking, I don't acknowledge them. Hard pills, boy, I got to swallow. When demons saw my Twitter, they started following I keep it positive. All my demons talking, I don't acknowledge them. Hard pills, boy, I got to swallow. When demons saw my Twitter, they started following They be asking why I wear the beanie. Boy, you wouldn't believe what's beneath it. Puzzle pieces of my finest secrets. Shadow saying, boy, you better keep them. But that's okay, I'ma let them out. Sink or swim, I was about to drown. Couldn't keep myself from looking down. All my angels, they surround me now. You can make it, you could really do it. Be aware of your influence. One day you could be the teacher. Next day you could be the student. I remember I was down bad. Skeletons from my past came out to kick my ass. I cried, they laughed. We are not these old timelines. Find your peace and I'll find mine. In the dark we can still shine. No Miley Cyrus, we still climb. God showed me how to bend time. Go in my mind to rewind. Seek the trauma that still hides. Break the curse in this lifetime. Elevate the world's frequency. It's a plan here for you and me. To say the least, I can see the cease, and they're telling me there'll be better weeks. I can see the future's coming quick. Don't blink or you might miss. Look inside your heart and watch it fall apart when you keep telling yourself you ain't I keep it positive. All my demons talking, I don't acknowledge them. Hard pills, boy, I got to swallow. When demons saw my Twitter, they started following I keep it positive. All my demons talking, I don't acknowledge them. Hard pills, boy, I got to swallow. When demons saw my Twitter, they started following
Come on, man, just gotta keep it positive. Keep going, whatever you're doing. Your
angels see you. You are moving in the right direction.
Keep moving. I see you. If you are in a bad
For real.
place, I got
For anybody who is listening to this, just keep going. Whatever you're doing, you're doing the right thing because you're still doing it. So just keep moving forward. Keep doing high vibrational things. Good things are coming. So again, thank you. This has been Keep It Positive. My name is Brian. We're about to slide into the next one right after that. But thank you all for listening. And this next one is called Heaven Only Knows. This one, if you've ever felt like this, or if you do feel like this, you're not alone. And that's mainly the point of this one. So we'll get that one going here in about 3 seconds. Cool. Well, thank you guys for listening. Thank you again for being here. It means more than you know. Thank you again. Be light. I'm a lost soul twitching at the crossroad. Will I die slow? Hell, heaven only knows.
Heaven only knows.
Heaven only knows.
Heaven only knows.
So what you gonna do if he never shows? If he never shows. Heaven only knows. Look.
My mind in a place where it feels safe.
I get scared of love when it feels fake. Never taught to love, I only learned hate. But you can see the pain all in my face. You get to witness the power of persistence. Defying all statistics, the Lord is my witness. Angels really tell me I can go and get it. Best magicians is the ones that tell you how they really did it. So you could really make it, man. I don't think you understand the power in your hands. But it comes from your soul first. And most of the ones on earth living in reverse. And some stuck in a curse. And me, I don't know what's worse. But sometimes I don't care what's next. Because I believe in life after death. Do you believe in the afterlife? What happens after we die? And what happens after they cry? And what happens to all the lies? All the lies that you ever told, and the ones tethered to your soul. From a broken home to a centerfold, I'm soon to see a business deal with a dinner roll. Soon to find my purpose, why I was chose. Why did I always feel all alone? But hey, heaven only knows. So B, please pay attention. I promise you have to stop getting so defensive, or thinking that love always has a bad intention. If you want to move forward in life, then you must forgive them. Hurt people, yeah, this is true. And I know you probably heard it too. Hurt people, yeah, this is true. So B, please pay attention. I promise you have to stop getting so defensive, or thinking that love always has a bad intention. If you want to move forward in life, then you must forgive them. Hurt people, yeah, this is true. And I know you probably heard it too. Hurt people, yeah, this is true. But it hit different when the one who was hurt is you. Heaven really only knows. Heaven only knows. Cool, and then thank you guys so much. Those two have been Keep It Positive and Heaven Only Knows. And B, I'm gonna pass it back to you. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Brian. Those songs were absolutely amazing. Thank you for kicking us off with the positive energy. And so before we get fully started, I just wanted to go over some rules. So we got some community guidelines. And so by being here, you are agreeing to be kind to our speakers, musical guests, and each other. Please mute your mic if you're not speaking. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the chat. And then you can also use your reactions at the bottom of the screen to send a lot of love. And then the best way to look at this recording tonight is in your speaker view. So at the top right corner in your Zoom, there's a view button. And if you click speaker, that's the best place to look at this evening tonight. So thank you all. And so I just want to go ahead and bring my speakers on. So, or actually before we bring our speakers on, I actually do have some videos that I want to share with you all today. So before we get started, I want to share these two videos today.
When getting information online about COVID-19, or politics, or pandas, or pears, or anything, how can you know what or who to trust? Look for a few red flags. Check the tone. If an article online uses language that makes you feel angry or scared, it's probably intended to change what you think or feel, rather than give you facts. Check with other news providers. If you can't find similar news reported by other media, it may not be true. Check the author. Read their bio to see if they'd have any reason to mislead you or play on your emotions. Check the sources. Trustworthy articles will tell you where they get information. If their sources seem suspicious or they don't share them at all, you may not be able to trust what they're saying. Separating fact from fiction online isn't always easy, but if you know the red flags, you can find the trustworthy information you need. How would COVID vaccines work in your body? Well, I have 60 seconds to tell you 3 things you should know. Ready? Number 1, getting the immune system in shape. A vaccine is basically a training session for the immune system. Vaccines teach the immune system to look for the key features of a virus. So when a virus does show up, it's ready to fight it off. Number 2, vaccine, meet virus. The vaccine gives your body a plan to recognize the virus. Then your immune system starts preparing by making antibodies, or fighter cells, that stay in your blood as protection in case the virus tries to invade. What this means is you get immunity against the disease without having to get sick first. Number 3, community immunity. When enough people's bodies know how to fight off a virus, it has nowhere to go. That slows the spread. When people get a vaccine, we're able to stop the spread quicker and get a little closer to ending this pandemic. That's basically how vaccines work. And that is 60 seconds.
Our people have not had a good experience with both the medical industrial complex in America and also the public health system in America. And so it's imperative that our people are talking to our people and that we create experiences that are loving and that are safe, so that people can access not only the vaccine, but also the information about the vaccine.
Today, we are blessed to say that we have survived the COVID-19 pandemic. And although there is still healing to do, we are still here. But what comes next? As of June 2021, only 33% of Black residents across Pierce County have received one of the vaccinations. This is to no surprise, because historically, systems have failed us time and time again, but times are changing and we need to make sure we get our information from reliable sources when making tough decisions around our bodies. There is no right or wrong, only what's right for you, your community, your family. Remember that.
Hello, my name is Danisha. I'm the founding director of the Tubman Center for Health and Freedom. We're out here today at Jimi Hendrix Park. We are a community-based organization that's also focused on health justice and changing the systems that make us sick. We have partnered today with UW Medicine to provide vaccines specifically to the Black community. We know in our community that we were disproportionately hit by COVID. Our communities have suffered, whether it was the disease itself or from the quarantines and the shutdowns, our small businesses, our communities were greatly impacted and have been. Many of the people now at this stage of the pandemic who have wanted the vaccine have received the vaccine. So the Tubman Center has launched Blackcinate, which is a campaign that really focuses on getting people the information that they need to make an educated decision as to whether or not the vaccine is good for them. We believe first and foremost in the autonomy of Black and brown bodies. We believe that people, if they receive accurate, good science, that they will make a good decision for themselves. And so that's what we're here doing today, providing the good science, and we're able to talk both the politics of vaccines, but also the science of vaccines, and really getting people the medicine who are ready for it. We're not here to pressure anybody. We believe, like I said, in the autonomy of Black and brown bodies, and we trust that our community is gonna look out for themselves and each other. Many people are being manipulated. They're being given poor information, misinformation. They're being guilted into receiving this vaccine. That's not what this is about. This is about making empowered decisions with accurate, good science.
Yes. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. That was so perfect. Thank you.
So just wanted to share those few videos with you all, just to show you, the science behind the vaccine, what it actually is, understanding that there's tons of misinformation, and also that, there's people out here that look like us and are doing the work in the community and really have our backs and helping us make the best decision we feel is possible for ourselves and our families. So I'd like to bring on our first guest, Josh Jordan. Josh, if you could unmute yourself. Josh, if you could kind of introduce yourself, tell the people a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then, address what your COVID-19 experience has been and why you decided you felt you needed to get the vaccine.
Yeah, how you doing? Thank you for having me on, Lyte. So yeah, my name's Josh Jordan, and like Lyte said, I'm an aspiring decent human. That's just kind of my way of acknowledging the need to constantly evaluate and evolve, because the standards of decency are constantly changing. So I am a Northern California transplant that actually relocated to the Tacoma area about 10 days before the pandemic was kind of the quarantine started. So when my wife and Cindy and I arrived here, part of our goal was to connect with the community in a meaningful way, in also a manner that was respectful of the stay-at-home orders and the social distancing. So we had to get really creative with connecting with people in a way that felt safe, but also kind of gave us that human connection that we all lost for, over a year. I got into administrative consulting as a result of having to pivot in the pandemic. I worked previously as I still work as a virtual assistant for a virtual staffing agency. And so the industries of clients that I was supporting, like everyone else, was impacted by COVID. And when their margins were hit, their need for me went away. So I had to reevaluate around the September time to kind of figure out how to survive and sustain. To kind of fast forward into the focus about the pandemic and my decisions around everything, we had decided kind of when we first learned about the pandemic occurring to, be more diligent about following the information that was being shared, and to really kind of take on the responsibility of not only trusting the information that we're getting, but also being as critical as we could about it. My decision, both our decisions to get vaccinated, was essentially, I'd say, part of a larger, I'd say maybe trust in our world. The idea that if I'm going to be at war with that part of my life, what other parts of life am I supposed to trust? That was kind of where I'm with it. If you can ask a question or something, I will ramble on forever, Lyte. So feel free to help any way you can.
Can you talk about, the impact that you had seen in the community because of COVID? I know you do a lot of work in the community and work with a lot of different organizations and businesses. And can you talk about that, like what that impact was? And then now that people are getting the vaccine, what do you feel like the future entails, and the optimism and the outlook?
Yeah. So it was a very unique situation that I was in. I started working remote by choice in April of 2019. So when I relocated, I kind of moved here with the idea that I'd have a home office and kind of have what became the quarantine office kit. So for me, it was really interesting. Outside of, I would say, the immediate fear of just not knowing what to do, what not to do, who you're exposing, what you're doing to yourself. The interest for me was observing how the world was evolving with remote culture, and how fast a lot of elements of remote work kind of just sped up. A lot of things that were lacking previously, by about July of 2020, were up to speed. What I saw in the community immediately was, and mind you, I researched the Tacoma, Washington area before relocating here. So all we had essentially was Instagram and YouTube, and it showed this, vibrant art scene with all these people out everywhere. So that's what we moved here to kind of experience. So I can tell you immediately that, like, a lot of what we moved out here to see, it's still on our list of things to explore, because so many things just became closed. I do feel like people reevaluated their wealth concepts through the pandemic, especially in Pierce County, with the confluence of a lot of civil rights activity and increase in that perspective. So I feel like that Pierce County specifically is in a good position to come out of the pandemic as a stronger community and with a better insight of what to focus on to be ready for the next crisis.
So can you talk about your experience with COVID, and also, being a Black man deciding to get the vaccine when there's a lot of hesitation about the vaccine in our community?
Well, yeah, for sure. So, just starting off with during the pandemic, before we could get masks, like, I wouldn't just wear like a bandana, like a Black person wearing nah, dude, nah, money. So in addition to my scientific, the biological factors, You have the racial factors, which absolutely contributed. I grew up, for better and worse, in a family that provoked critical thought. So don't make this the decision that everyone else agrees with. Make your decision for you, and do your due diligence to be at peace with it, because for better and worse, individually we own the decisions we make. So my choice with the pandemic, and my experience with Black culture is a little bit unique in that I'm biracial. So there's a little bit of already a schism of like, I don't really quite get the Black experience. So my perspective always kind of has that additional layer of like, well, yeah, but you don't really understand it. So I mean, I would say just being self-critical and very research oriented, I felt like getting the vaccine, and also I wanted to travel globally. Prior to the pandemic starting, I was preparing to become a travel advisor. And so, I had learned that there are types of vaccinations that you get when you're traveling to the other parts of the world that you don't get to research and appeal. There's a certain level of trust that you have to have if you're going to participate in certain parts of the world, has been my experience. And so the piece I make is just trusting it.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think we can do to ensure that the Black community has the resources we need to take care of ourselves and each other when there possibly could be a next crisis to come?
I mean, this is from more of a point of curiosity than judgment. So I just want to preface it with like, I'd be curious to understand what the alternative is to not getting vaccinated if you're not in a position where you are truly not part of mainstream commercial society. Like, I've in my own family, people that are actively not getting vaccinated, and the conversations I have with them is, well, but like, do you still eat fast food? Are you still doing other things? Are you validating every other thing that is going into your body isn't doing something else unintended? Because I can respect the level of critical thought of mistrusting vaccines, especially for the Black community, but just denying it for my paranoia, that's not enough. I have to hear and understand, okay, what's the alternative? What's the better way of approaching it?
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, can you talk about what you would like? Is there anything like you would like to see from our community and from specific organizations when it comes to, keeping us healthy?
Yeah, so my father passed away in 2007 from heart related issues, and I've learned that essentially that condition exists like within his family. It was a factor for my grandfather, it's a factor for my uncle. I think if there was anything that I could see kind of out of this shifting is normalizing proactive discussions about health. I think part of the whole thing is that we always are so negative. It's, oh, this ailment is occurring, and that becomes a discussion point. And then every discussion point is this reactive thing. I think people talking, especially people in the Black community, talking about health just like you would talk about every other part of life. When you check out on, what you're watching on TV or a sports league, there doesn't have to be a crisis associated. You could just be like, yeah, well, I'm just seeing how you're doing with that part of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I talked to you before this, and so I feel like it'd be really cool to share what your experience, because you actually did get COVID-19, you and your wife. And so what was that like?
So December of 2019, we relocated from Northern California to Tennessee for 2 months. So we flew into Tennessee at the beginning of December. And it was pre-pandemic. So, unless you were vigilantly washing your hands and covering your face and doing things, you would just get sick. And we were used to getting sick once a year. And so we were sick for a good 4 weeks. But we didn't even associate it with COVID. We just get sick once a year and thought it was that horrible flu that you experience. So we had, I would say, awareness of it retroactively that we were dealing with that condition. And so that awareness definitely prompted additional caution. I mean, up until a few months ago, we were those people still sanitizing our groceries because, mind you, we also relocated from Northern California. So we didn't move up here with a support system. If one of us is in the hospital, 50% of who we have is unavailable. So there was a lot of, I would say, elevated just caution around health. It didn't hurt that during 2020, neither of us got sick in any capacity, considering that we were being extra hygienic and extra cautious around who we were exposing ourselves to. So, I mean, I think having that experience in December of 2019 with the fear and the caution and our circumstance, it made being very, very healthy and very proactive and concerned very easy. I mean, we even ended up not traveling to see family in October of 2020, and for huge milestone events, because there was the number of airports and the number of exposures that we would be putting ourselves and our family to was just, it was more than our mental health could handle.
Yeah. And so you talk about that, not really having a support system and being new here. So what community organizations and resources have you found in the Tacoma Pierce County community that you found helpful?
So Tacoma Urban League was definitely one of the organizations that, like, I would say drew Cindy and I out here. I grew up in Northern California. I grew up in different parts of Northern California, but I didn't really grow up in an area that had, I would say, a strong presence of Black culture that was self-influenced. Sometimes, you know, I grew up in San Jose where there wasn't a lot of organic culture, so it was a lot of whatever BET and rap culture dictated to you, you kind of postured and you tried to mimic. So the Tacoma Urban League really represented a self-defined view of how to exist and support a BIPOC community, because it's not even just Black people that Tacoma Urban League supports.
Yeah.
Among them, and that primarily has been my gateway into the community. I started volunteering with them during August as just a way of connecting and contributing, because we were also isolated. And so through that organization alone, I've been able to meet other organizations like the William Factory, which is doing great work. I have been connected with Traction Space, which is a virtual office, a co-working space that I personally utilize for my business. There's been a lot of other organizations I've become aware of, but I haven't really been able to, I would say, meaningfully utilize them yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Josh, so much for sharing your perspective, and especially, you know, how you've been navigating the pandemic with just moving to this area and being so new. I think that's very interesting, and you've been very resourceful. And so it's good to hear that, you know, there's things that you can do. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next guest, Tamar Jackson. Tamar, he's absolutely amazing, does so much work in the community. Tamar, can you just let the people know about everything that you do?
Oh man, first and foremost, I just want to take a moment to just thank you and recognize the work that you're doing in this community. I mean, your voice is just unbelievable. And if you don't know about Lyte, you need to know. She's just a talent that's amazing, who's about the community and the people. So thank you for even having me on this platform and being able to shine with you. But I am Tamar Jackson, Director of Community Engagement for Workforce Central, also the mayor of Loop City. I know B likes it, AKA B, but hey, I'm the mayor of Loop City. I love our task force, but first and foremost, big ups to Workforce Central and the work that they do to actually change the narrative that's happening in the community and making sure that we're listening to the voices of the community. The task force is such a dominant structure that really wants to engage with the voices of our community so we can change the narrative. One thing I always say when we talk about community engagement, you have to remember the corners that keep communities together. We're no longer doing this alone, we're doing this together. Big ups to every last one of the organizations that are in the task force representing Pierce County, because the commonality is making sure that we are doing what we can do to make sure that we bring economic mobility to Pierce County's individuals and families. Done.
Absolutely. So can you talk about the specific work and the specific goals we're working towards, and maybe how they have been impacted by COVID and how you've kind of had to, adjust and reevaluate things because of the pandemic?
I mean, you look at it, when we come to community engagement, what does that look like? We're face to face with each other. 14 months ago, we were told that we cannot see each other anymore. We couldn't be around each other anymore. We couldn't do this work together anymore. So everyone was forced to pivot and figure out how they serve this community in a way that was still beneficial. I look at the pandemic, and when we talk about a pandemic, honestly, it highlighted excuses for everyone because everyone was really in that zone of, oh my gosh, like pants down, we got to figure this out now. We're being exposed. So everyone had to figure out how they were going to serve. And then you put Manny Ellis in the picture and what that looked like. Disparities were left and right. And so when we're talking about how we're trying to change the community, it showed because there was nothing else being highlighted but a pandemic and what was happening during that pandemic. We learned that our BIPOC communities didn't have the resources needed to continue going. This started in March, September. Our young adults didn't have computers. They didn't have internet access. They didn't have the things that they needed to grow and continue to move forward in a pandemic. But we jumped on. Everybody started putting mission statements out. We support the Black community. We're here. My question the whole time is, what's the plandemic? Because we can only use a pandemic for an excuse for so long. What's next? What are we going to do for our community? How are we going to collaborate? How are we going to move forward? How are we going to highlight all the work that is truly being done? And I give a big shout out to all those ground workers that were doing amazing things to keep families and individuals supported through all of this. Because without every last one of them, we'd still be hitting hard. They've done amazing things, and I want to give a big shout out to those that are out there every day still grinding, figure out a way, whether it's a client, whether it's services, it doesn't matter. They figured out a way to make this not be as bad as it should and it could have been. And a lot of organizations just had to pivot to sit and say, this is the new world. This is the new world, and we're going to move differently. So when I look at the work that I had to deal with inside of the pandemic, it was being honest, it was being true, and it was realizing that we were never going back to what we were all used to at all. I had to build a bunch of friends through via Zoom, team meetings. That's what we got used to. So now all we can sit and say is, what's next? How are we going to continue to do this work? Because we can't sit and stop because we feel that, oh, everyone's vaccinated, so we can go back to where we were going. We're never going back to where we were. Now it's the next steps of saying, where are we going moving forward? And how are we going to transition to make sure that our community is recognized, their voice is heard? We are all power players in what we do, but if it's not the commonality of the community, then we're doing it completely wrong.
And you hit it right there on, what's next. And you have a great, initiative going with Loop City of creating that task force to help with what's next. And so can you explain to those who, never heard of Loop City, can you explain what Loop City is all about? What we do in Loop City?
Hey, you know what? Loop City, when you see that bridge, you know what time it is. All we do is ask you to reside. That's it. Loop City is the task force. So if anyone has never heard of the Pierce County Community Engagement Task Force, it is for the people, by the people. We ask you to come as your own personal self and leverage your organization in the work that we are doing. That's what it is. It does not matter. Your organization that you come into does not make you who you are within the task force. We have many sectors that we support, but the one thing that we've all realized is that we're great at one or two things, and you got to be honest about that. But if you surround yourself with greatness on the weaknesses that you bring to the table, and I'm not even going to say weaknesses, things that you're not as strong in, then we can build advocates to go into our community and grab the people that we need to make sure that we are supporting them, we are taking care of them, and bottom line, they can go back out to this community that they love so much. I firmly believe in that you should not have to leave Pierce County to live in Pierce County. We touch everyone in the work that we do, but we have to be okay with doing that work together. We can't work in silos no more. We've realized that when we work in silos, that means we're checking boxes. So when we talk about you coming into Loop City, that is leadership, that is organizational structures, that's outreach and engagement, that's people and provider. That's us coming together to sit and say, we're ready to do this work together by any means necessary. There's no bad idea. There's no bad thing that you bring to this table. There's a time and a place, and we bring it because our voices are all heard. It doesn't matter who you are. Your voice is heard when you come to Loop City, and we all work together to make things happen for Pierce County.
So can you talk about any of the specific projects coming out of Loop City or Workforce Central?
Man, come on now. You know, we got too many things in Loop City happening, but you know, there's a few great things going on. One of the big things that I love, to be honest, you know, big shout out to Workforce Central first and foremost for them taking on the journey of DEAI. And when I say DEAI, most people speak of DEI. I'm sorry, if you're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you're not adding the A, which is access, the work that you're doing is pointless for our community. Workforce Central has put themselves in that whole mindset of saying, we're doing this for the community, but we're also doing this for us. I think a lot of people sit and not realizing that everyone's organization is a glass house. And it's easy to break a window and throw a rock. It's easy to sit and point fingers. You're not doing this, you're not doing that. That's not what we're doing. We know that we have a lot of work that we need to deal with internally, and we're working with that work internally, because without us doing the work internally, it'll never show externally. When we sit and look, and I want to give a big shout out to Amanda Walkenstick. She's an amazing member of our task force. She's built the Speakers Bureau alongside a lot of the leadership. And the Speakers Bureau was built because there's so many programs in our community that's being built, but no one asked the people that it's meant for. So if you're building a project around homelessness, are you talking to the homelessness in our community? Are you asking them, is this going to benefit them? Or is this going to be a barrier for them? What does that look like? So we really reached out and we started joining people that had lived experience for them to be able to bring that to the table and say, no, this is great, but this is not great. We have to stop building programs that are designed in different demographics, and then we bring them to Tacoma and we don't ask what is going on. We bring them to Pierce County and we think that it's going to work because on paper, the numbers look great. But if you're building a program in Kentucky, I'm sorry, last time I checked, our demographics are completely different. So we need to start asking the voice of the people when we're building these projects. We have a big project going on called The Corner, which has been amazing. Jeff and myself, we actually want to leverage and we want to highlight our partners within the task force to sit and say, we see what you guys are doing, but we also have to understand that in order to rebuild our community, we have to rebuild a community. And we have to leverage our partners in that to sit and say, what are you guys doing? How are you doing it? And how do we support you? It doesn't matter what community engagement you're doing. If you're not remembering the corners that keep the community together, then you're not doing it correctly. We have to lean on each other. We have to support each other. We have to be here for each other as we move forward. And then we also just have the task force meeting once a month. You know, a long time ago, and Bethany, you groove with me a lot. There was a time where we were all about organizations because we thought that's what they wanted. They wanted to see organizations and doing great things. But then we realized that we're the work. We make this work great. So how does our organization leverage the talent that we bring to this community? It's by allowing us to come as who we are professionally, personally, and as a community member. We represent and we support each other. We've built different dialogues. We've had different conversations within task force meetings each month. But it's not about the organization. It's about the community. So no matter what we're doing and how we're moving in our community, as long as we are focused and we come together, that's what benefits this community, their voice. And as long as we hear their voice and leadership is willing to listen to the community's voice, then we can actually make a change that's sustainable throughout our community.
So I thought you hit on a great point, and it's not just, diversity, equity, inclusion, but also you have to have that A of access. Access is so important. And so can you talk about what you've seen in our community and maybe with working with these organizations when it comes to access for the vaccine and testing, and also just the response and education to the Black and African American community? Could you speak to that?
No, definitely. To be honest with you, I got vaccinated, but I got vaccinated for my community. I didn't get vaccinated for Tamar. I can tell you that right now. When it came to Tamar getting vaccinated, there's nothing that has been done for the Black community to sit and say, we just want to see you guys get better. That's how I've moved, and I've always moved that way. But when I sit and I think about those that are around me that I haven't seen in the last year, I think about my children. I think about elders. I have to think about them, period. I have to think about them. I have to take the biases of who I am. I have to listen to those that are speaking. And I've done a lot more research. I've tried to educate myself more. Me and my partner, we were both vaccinated. Why? Because we have children that we're raising in this community. I have elders that I have not been able to see in this community over the last year and a half because I was not vaccinated. So it's twofold. If it was just me and I was thinking about myself, I wouldn't have gotten it because I didn't feel comfortable with it. But when I think about those that I care about and that I love, I have to do due diligence to sit and say, you know what? You're right. Let me just figure this out and what this looks like. So when it comes to my community, it's hard for us, to be completely honest with you. And that's why we're probably sitting at, and I looked in the chat, 33.8% of the Black community has been vaccinated. Why? Because there's never been trust. There's never been trust. All of a sudden, boom, wham, bam, here you guys go. Here's this source. We want to take care of you. In the history of the Black community, that's never been something that has come to the forefront. So we have to come and dive into our community more. We have to learn to educate with each other. We have to be understanding that some people are going to be hesitant in what that looks like, with the hopes that, hey, everyone gets vaccinated. But we cannot be mad at any of our communities, the BIPOC, the Indigenous community, the Asian community, the LGBTQ community, because a lot of these things were never built for us. We just have to trust it and figure out outside of ourselves why we're doing this. And that's for the community that we say that we are all involved in.
And so how do you think we go about building that trust?
Show up. To be completely honest with you, show up. It's all about how you show up. How are we showing up for our community? Are we out here? Are we showing up at these vaccination sites? Are there doctors that look like us at these vaccination sites? I've yet to see one, but they should be there. I've been through these things. Everything's going to be safe. As a culture, we react to what is shown around us. We react to who looks like us because that's comfortable to us. But if we're not showing up in the communities that we are saying is lacking the access, they're lacking getting vaccinated, why are you not coming to talk to us? Why are we having to see commercials of people that don't look like us? Why are we having to get pamphlets from people that aren't us? If you're looking to vaccinate a community, we have to see the ones that look like us that truly believe, okay, if you've done this and you are a Black doctor, you are an Indigenous doctor, you are from the BIPOC community and you believe in this, come talk to us, come educate us, come be a part of the community, not just show up when you need something from this community. You got to be a part of us for us to truly feel that we are a part of this equation to cure all of this. We don't see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, because it's, organizations and people like you doing that work to help build that trust and be out in the community and show their face and show up. And that's why I'd shown that video at the beginning, to show that, hey, there are people that look like us doing the work and that we are here to help. And so can you talk about any of the work specifically that Workforce Central is doing? We know with the pandemic, it affected a lot of jobs, and especially in the Black community. And can you talk about how, any initiatives been set in place to help, our community bounce back with employment?
With Workforce Central over the last year, a lot of great things have happened, actually. We just recently brought on 4 young adult contracts because we truly believed, again, that not one organization is going to be great at everything, but if we can bring a collaboration together to truly serve our community, that's going to benefit our community. So we're looking at, what are the pipelines? Everyone always says, what are the jobs of the future? We don't know. We learned in this last pandemic, guess what? Entrepreneurship was everything. Working from home was everything, because it showed that you could still do your work and be great and support your organization, but be in your comfort zone, which worked for introverts and extroverts. So now we're really going out and starting to build these relationships with the organizations, but we're also asking the question, what does the pipeline look like in your community? What does it look like for high school, secondary, certification, and 4 years degrees? Not everyone is built for college, but everyone is built for success. What does that look like? And what is the pipeline that we are giving them to be able to have a family wage position in our community? I truly believe that you don't have to leave Pierce County to live in Pierce County. There's plenty of opportunity out here, but so many people chase money because they weren't educated in the opportunities that are in front of them. If you sit and you add $1 to 24 hours and you ask what your worth is it worth spending 37 hours trying to drive to Seattle to make $3 more than being educated and us giving opportunity in Pierce County so you can be around your family, your spouse, your loved ones, your mental health, your friends? You invest in our community? You can go to Seattle all you want, that's fine. But where's your money being invested? It needs to come back home. And we need to start standing up and saying, you know what? Opportunity needs to be at home, because this is what we call home. So Workforce Central is really working on our partnerships. We're working on guidance. We're working on what that truly looks like. We're working on what does a family wage job truly look like. We're thinking outside of the box here. We're thinking of collaborating with people that we've never collaborated with before. We're thinking of the differences between internship and apprenticeship. What does that look like? Where's the gap at and how do we fill it? That's what we're doing right now. Workforce Central is really focused on partnerships and levitating and transition to the next level. We're not going to be your regular workforce development board. We can't do this by ourselves, but that's why we're adding and we're reaching and we're trying to collaborate with everyone and anybody. I don't care who you are. Everyone has a great idea and everyone has something to bring to this table. And as long as we all come to this table together with the like minds of saying that community comes first over everything else, we're going to win. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen next week, but it's already in the forefront and everyone's moving towards that. So I invite anyone that's listening to this right now or who's on this call, reach out and connect with us. We will figure out a way that we can bring sustainability back to this community and do it the right way, because that's what Pierce County is deserving of. We're not little Seattle. We're Pierce County, and we're just as good and we have just as much talent here, and we're going to highlight that over the next year or two.
Thank you so much, Tamar. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please check out the link in the bio. We dropped the link to learn more about the Pierce County Engagement Task Force and more about Loop City and how you can get involved, because yeah, absolutely amazing work is happening. And really, how we can prepare for what's next is to build that community and build trust. I heard a quote and it said, we move at the speed of trust. And I believe that is so true. I think about anything I do in my life, it's because I trust it. And if I move slow, it's because I don't trust it. But if I really move with it and I'm all for it and I'm all in, it's because I have that trust. And so we just have to build trust within our communities and, be involved and just do the work and also give a platform for people to be heard. And that's what this is all about. That's what Power of the Poetry is about. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Tamar. Thank you, Josh. You guys are absolutely amazing. This has been Courageous Conversations, COVID-19 vaccine, you decide, conversation number 2. We're going to end this with Brian closing the show out with a couple more songs. Brian, can you get back to us and get on the mic so we can hear closing the show out with a couple more songs? Brian, you're on mute. Your other computer's up. Okay, there we go. All right, here we go. Here's Brian. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Cool. Yep. And then just want to say thank you again to all the speakers and their incredible address. And then again, B, thank you for having me. It's been amazing. Thank you for this platform. And we'll close that last one out. I'm going to take it back to the poetry roots with this last one here. It's called the Twin Flame Interlude. So I'll get that in 1 second. 1 second. All right, cool about that. Just had a little technical difficulty, but we're about to get that rolling. Cool. And then again, this is the Twin Flame Interlude. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you all for coming. I appreciate you. Good to have you out here tonight. Mom, I see you back there looking beautiful. How you doing? Pop, good to see you. Just feels good. So everyone, my name is Brian. I'm from Seattle. I'm a spoken word poet. I used to try to do the rapping thing, and I think it took me down a direction I wasn't ready for. But sometimes that has to happen. Sometimes you have to understand so you can understand. You feel me? So this is a poem I wrote. Goes a little something like this. Bear with me. I haven't done this in a minute. But it goes like this. So see, it is evident that your decadence is benevolent. And see, your smile is heaven sent as you dawn heaven sent. And see, my soul remembers yours from long ago. From when the sound of your first giggle created the universe that we now know. And man, see, I look at you as a diamond in the rough, emerging into its prime serenity. For the most melodic phrase that you send to me is your echo of infinity. And honestly, that's just found in your speech. For I want to take you to a level that we were never designed to reach, because your beauty goes beyond human capabilities of understanding. And yet I hope that you understand me. And I hope that you understand that I just want to grow in your garden. I want to plant seeds on your soul and watch them grow into beautiful slum flowers whose stems remain green with the envy of our love. And their petals are beautiful and gold. See, I want you to look at me with the same desire that drove Adam to eat that fruit. Because he knew that whatever was coming next, he didn't want to have to face alone. And not to be dramatic, but I think I could truly die if for the rest of my life, I only ever saw your face alone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. This has been the Slumflower series.
Cool. And thank you guys so much again for having me. I've been BRY444N. Brian is how it's pronounced. Thank you to B. Thank you to Tamar. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everybody on the call. And just thank you again. Hope you all have a great night and continue to shine your light.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was a great way to end it. Thank you all again. Thank you to my speakers, Tamar and Josh, to our musical guests, Brian. Thank you to my project manager and stage runner today, Elizabeth Parker. And we will be here again next Tuesday, 7 p.m. for another episode of Courageous Conversations. It will be episode number 3. Thank you to Brian, sound guy. Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm going to end it with this. I think what we can learn today is that we have to, like my shirt says, be the change that we see, and get involved in the community and help build that trust. And we need to realize that we're all warriors of light. And so I'm going to end it with this piece. We are all part of a tribe called the Warriors of Light, using positive energy to spread good vibes. We believe love is the key to unlock peace. Anything is possible. Nothing is out of reach. There is a light within us all, but sometimes we must close our eyes to see. When we look inside, we discover our inner light, leading us in the direction which is always right. The fire within eternally burns bright, because the good in us never truly dies. So we fight on a mission that will last until the end of time, using our words to ignite humankind. Power to the poetry, the Warriors of Light. We'll see you all next week. Love, light, peace.